You want to talk about a lot of stuff that's really pertinent to what's going on right now. Open that up for us.
Well, what happened was back in 2001, late 2001, early 2002, when Enron crashed and burned so horrifically with 28 buys and no sells on it in December, went into bankruptcy in December of 2001, I decided to do an autopsy on it. And after I did my autopsy on it, I came up with what killed it. And I then took that and did a back test on other companies that had gone bankrupt under mysterious conditions, over 100 over the previous 5 years, and found they all had the same condition. And so I named it the EPS syndrome, that condition.
What does that stand for, EPS?
Well, what it stands for is the company has the EPS syndrome when it's reporting record earnings, and yet its cash flow, its negative cash flow exceeds its record earnings. So what happens is these type of companies that have these conditions typically have a lot of analyst buy recommendations. The stocks are at their all-time highs, and everybody's very, very bullish on these companies that have these conditions, because really what they have is they're manipulating their earnings, is what happened. They're cashless earnings is what they have.
Do you think we're going to see more of that as we go forward?
Well, what happens is in every bull market, that's what happens. What I learned, I took that algorithm and I started applying it to actual companies in 2002, and I was shocked at how easy it was to find them and to go out and predict that they were going to go out of business, and just like that, one by one by one, they just almost like shooting fish in a barrel, finding these companies, and they all had major brokerage firms recommending them in them. Okay, here's one here, Astropower. If you can see this on the slide here, look at all the firms that were recommending the stock. It was in a very, very, very bad condition. They all had institutional investors. Here's another one, Suprema Specialties had institutions, and it had 20 straight quarters of negative cash flow but positive earnings. Right. So what happened is these things were so easy to find that I gave them a name, a perfect short, because a perfect short is a business that is a short. Most people short, they short the market so they can cover and make money.
Right.
A perfect short, you want to short it and you want to hold it to the very end, because you're going to make 100% on your money on a perfect short.
Or more.
Or more. And you want to trade them. I had a guy that traded Astropower, the one I showed you just a couple of minutes ago.
Right.
He took $50,000 and parlayed it and turned it into a couple of $1 million, $1 million, $2 million inside of about 18 months. The key is that the business models, that what happens in a bull market, see, in 2001, late 2001, 2002, the reason why all these things surfaced is in a bull market, companies like this can get easily financed. Companies that have business models that don't throw off cash flow can get easily financed in a bull market.
Right.
So the bull market covers up all these kind of companies. The minute that the bull market's over, these things will pop up all over the place, and there are going to be lots of perfect shorts. So the business models cannot sustain themselves through a perfect short in a bad market.
Right.
Okay, that's what happens.
So you think we're going to see a lot of those?
We're going to see a lot of that. Now, a good example of this, and Lehman was a perfect short. And people say to me, well, how could Lehman, a brokerage firm that had been in place for 100 years, how could it have a bad business model? Okay, how could its business model make it a perfect short? And what happened with Lehman and Bear Stearns and Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs, and these companies all went into subprime mortgages after the dot-com bubble burst. So they moved aggressively into that area. That's what Lehman was doing. That's what put Lehman out. They were in a new business model, and that business model wasn't generating any cash flow because they were in subprime mortgages, and they had all the inventory, and people weren't paying their mortgages and all that other stuff. That's why the whole thing collapsed in 2008,
right?
Because of those business models. So you're looking for bad business models.